All right, good win coming off, that big road win last week. We all are aware of the potential issues you're dealing with there, and I thought the team and the staff did a good job, really focusing in on this next opponent and the challenge that it could present. I thought Michigan State played really hard, and offensively, they've got some weapons, and our offense was sharp. We were throwing the football. Fernando, was on point. Protection was good. Receivers were separating and making plays. And, the defense held them to a field goal there at the end of the second quarter. Drive before the 2-minute drive. Stopped them on the 2-minute drive. And then we punched that first drive in the third quarter, which I felt like if we did that, that would be a real blow to them. And defense really shut them out until the end. We kind of emptied the bench a little bit, so to speak. But it's a good win, and enjoy it. We're going to enjoy it and get ready for the next one.
Zach on your left in this.
You talked about Fernando, and I know every quarterback will always have things to clean up, but I don't think you do. Sack today is 24 of 28. Is that kind of when you watched film of him, what you thought he'd be capable of once he cleaned up some of the things that you talked about in the offseason, the timing, the comfort, the trust and protection?
Well, I think it was a really good performance by him. Michigan State's given up some points this year, let's face it. And, he had time, and our guys were separating, and he was throwing the ball on rhythm. And, there's other games like Oregon, you don't have nearly as much time. And you're not always separating as much. So it's all relative sometimes. But I would say this is the sharpest, we've seen him up to this point, in a game. But he continues to improve. He continues to prepare like nobody I've ever been around. And he's getting better and better.
He's on your left and Ravi.
In terms of Omar Cooper and offensive line, from an offensive coach perspective, you know that defenses are going to try to game plan out and focus on them. They account for nearly 60% of your targets. The difficulty level for them as receivers to still get open, to still counter those game plans. How difficult is what they're doing right now?
Well, you can kind of like focus in on one guy, but it's hard to focus in on two. Because, if you're 3-by-1, that guy might be number 3, number 2, number 1 of the field or into the bench. So you can focus in on one guy, but it's really difficult to focus in on two. But there's other guys that make plays, like Riley Nowakowski. How many big plays has he made in the past game? And E.J. Williams, obviously, is a threat. And then, some of the Charlie Becker's made plays. Hemby's made some big plays in the past game. And then you got to deal with Fernando's feet. If he works up into the pocket. So you can't really focus on one guy.
Ravi on your left and Matt Weaver.
Yeah, Coach, assuming I'm doing the math here correctly, Mendoza 21 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. When the guy's ratio is like that, the reason for it is what? And you look at, quarterbacks, you see that level of play, and you think what?
Well, I think he's done a good job. He's smart. He understands how to play quarterback. See, before you win any game, you got to make sure you don't lose it, right? And he protects the ball. He checks it down when it's not there. He knows when he can take a sack, when he can't take a sack, and he's accurate. And he's making good reads. So, that only puts him a little bit behind Cole Johnson, my second quarterback at JMU, who I think was 44-4 touchdowns, interceptions, which would be 22-2. You said 21-2?
21-2 right now, yeah.
No, but
And the other guy was
he keeps building, I think, on his previous performances, and I can't say no good things about it.
Matt on your right and Pete.
Coach, early on, their offense kind of had you guys a little bit on your heels. They were getting involved to run those screen plays. We got some yards, but you guys kept them off the scoreboard. What do you like about the adjustments your defense made as the game went along?
I thought near the end of the second quarter, we really tightened up in the second half, except for that last drive, and started putting pressure on the quarterback. And I've always thought they got good design at Michigan State offensively. They can protect with 8, 7, 6, 5. Out-of-pocket game, good screen game, great play-action game, and the quarterback is extremely talented. so is number 6. And and I'm sure that defense will put the tape on tomorrow, and they'll be displeased with some things early in the game.
Peter on your right and Seth.
Coach over here, just the way Drew Moore has continued to play right now, he led you again in tackles, just the way he's played.
Yeah, played a lot of football, leading tackler, interceptions, left us, came back, right? And he's a veteran, got a nose for the ball, instinct, and I think he's having fun.
Seth on your left and Daniel.
Curt, when you say Fernando prepares like no one you've been around, what does that look like? Like, what is he doing during the week that's so above and beyond in your eyes?
I think it's time, organization, and smart use of time, proper preparation, smart use of time. And, you know, he wants to be a great player. And, you know, that, never seen anybody really quite jump like that before.
Daniel in front and Zach Beaver.
On a mentality point, at what point in the week were you confident that you had your team in the right spot?
I think it was starting to flip a little bit after Thursday after practice. I sent him a good message. I thought it was flipping our way Friday. But, you know, look, you can't be a real nice guy when you have a job like mine. You know what I mean? Sometimes you know when they're going to be ready to play. And then sometimes, you know, the entire organization, right? What Mike Krzyzewski say when he retired? He said, the toughest opponent he's ever faced was human nature. Well, human nature after winning against Oregon is to be happy and relax, and, right? Support staff, coaches, players, right? Trainers. So, you know, my job is to make sure they got the right mindset ready to play. And, you know, it's not always fun, but you got to do what you got to do.
Zach be in front, we'll wrap with Zach.
You've talked a lot about battling through adversity with the uniqueness of the slightly longer halftime and the weather. How do you think your team handled that and came out in the second half?
I thought we handled it really well. The staff had experience with it at Virginia when I was at JMU my last year. We were down 10 with 8 minutes ago, and that happened. We ended up utilizing it, I thought, really well, and came back and won the game.
Zach Lessman.
Yes, Curt, you talked about, you know, the defense might see some things on the film, especially early in the game they didn't love from this game. But I think it's 7 defensive touchdowns you've allowed in 8 games now. What is it about that group that, whatever the challenge is, they just kind of outlast opponents? Obviously, sometimes you get a lot of sacks, sometimes, like a day like today, maybe it takes a little longer to kind of figure it out. But what is it about that group that just they constantly solve that problem?
Well, you know, I think, first of all, they're well coached, and they attack people. And we've got a lot of veteran players, and we've got great leadership, and we've got good players. And the leaders are really good players. And we've had young guys sort of develop for us, like up front and side. And look at Isaiah Jones' development at linebacker and Hardy, besides Fisher, right? And I think the secondary is really, you know, outside of Pawns, you know, who's an All-American. You know, you've seen Sharp really step up and start to make plays in the safeties, too. So, there's a lot of pride there, and, you know, we've got to get better from this last game, right? We're going to get tougher down here.
All right, thank you.